Zulfiq Farzan from Newsfirst, MTV, MBC Networks, Sri Lanka. Two questions to you. First is, Sri Lanka is on the road to recovery and this journey is very slow, and there is growing concern among the masses that the massive price hikes that the government has imposed. Now, the IMF proposed that cost-reflective adjustments need to be made, and the masses believe that the state is abusing this recommendation. Can you give your thoughts on that? And secondly, just this week, China's Exim Bank reached an agreement with Sri Lanka for its debt arrangement. However, it is said that this pact will take time to materialize. What are your thoughts on this as well, and will it not affect the second tranche release and the staff level agreement as well as the board approval? Thank you.
On your first question, we fully sympathize and understand the hardship faced by people in terms of falling wages, cost of living increases, and so on. And I are fully sympathetic to that. But again, the program, we do have, prices reflecting cost recovery. And why is that important? It's important because otherwise the electricity sector faces losses, and that becomes a public problem down the road. So you have to have cost recovery. I think that's important. You also don't want to provide, subsidies to everyone. It should be more progressive. And here we believe that targeted support to the poor and vulnerable is the way to go. But going beyond just the immediate thing, I think the energy sector efficiency in the energy sector, in the electricity sector, could be increased through structural reforms. And in general, SOE reforms are important in Sri Lanka, and that's part of the program we have, where the IMF working with the World Bank is pushing ahead with reforms to SOEs, including in the electricity sector. But I think that's the way to look at it. On your second question, I would say that as part of the review, what will be required will be financing assurances. In that context, we will look to see how much progress has been made on debt restructuring efforts, and if there are any agreements how do they square with the debt targets and so on. So it's part of the process of the second review. So you talked about one creditor, but the financial review will look at what restructuring efforts there other creditors, including the private creditors, the OCC, and so on. We don't get involved in these debt restructuring efforts between creditors and the debtor. So if private creditors have put forward a proposal which includes GDP-linked bonds, that's for Sri Lankan authorities and their advisors to engage with them to see. Our role comes in terms of to see how any kind of agreement is consistent with the debt targets and consistent with debt restructuring exercise in the macro framework. Your second question was on the macro framework. Again, anytime we have a review, we assess the macroeconomic framework in a very holistic way.
The G20 finance ministers and central bank governors have welcomed all efforts for timely resolution of the debt situation of Sri Lanka and the ongoing progress, and called for its swift conclusion as soon as possible. This was announced following the 4th G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco, that took place on the 12th and 13th of October. A G20 communiqué noted that the finance ministers and central bank governors encouraged the efforts of the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable participants to strengthen communication and foster a common understanding among key stakeholders both within and outside the common framework for facilitating effective debt treatment. The G20 finance ministers and central bank governors have also appreciated the efforts of the International Financial Architecture Working Group in taking forward the work on the debt agenda, including the preparation of G20 note on the global debt landscape. They also welcome the joint efforts by all stakeholders, including private creditors, to continue working towards enhancing debt transparency. The International Monetary Fund has said that for emerging markets and developing economies like Sri Lanka that are suffering from fund stress on external markets, faster and more efficient coordination on debt resolution is needed. It added that with public debt still high across most of the region, the ongoing gradual fiscal consolidation should continue to build room for maneuver and to ensure debt sustainability. In a statement, the IMF said that Asia continues to fuel global growth, but economic momentum is slowing. It also noted that the region is likely to see faster disinflation, but prospects for growth in coming years are dimming.